Welcome everybody to the 36th episode of Comic DNA, on which we will be discussing Skullkickers Volumes 3 and 4. I am Aaron Walther, and I am joined today by my two Skullkicker reading friends, Mr. Josh Blasingame.
Greetings.
And Mr. John Parrish.
Hello, hello.
Thank you guys for coming back to talk about Skullkickers. Now, regular readers of this podcast might be thinking, hey, didn't you just do an episode about Skullkickers like 2 months ago? And you would be correct for thinking that. And I'm happy to say that that episode was so incredibly popular, like 1,000% more popular than some of our other episodes, that we are completely selling out, and we're doing another one.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plugs.
Yep.
I am sure that the popularity of the Skullkickers episode had a lot to do directly with Jim Zub, creator and writer of Skullkickers, sharing the episode on social media. And of course, we're very appreciative of that and just want to say a big thank you to Jim Zub. Jim is not the only creator to respond to the podcast. Notably, we've had Felipe Smith was very appreciative of our Pikachu episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Kelly, I believe he tweeted about our Deadpool and I Kill Giants episodes.
Yep.
And Ed Brubaker also, whenever we talk about Criminal or Sleeper, I know he's tweeted about it too, which is always very nice and reassuring. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, we don't do it just to suck up to the creators, but you know, we like to talk about good comics, and that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from completely selling out and sucking up to creators, which I'm always ready to do at the drop of a hat, we have another, even more selfish reason to talk about Skullkickers so soon. The last episode we talked about it, John and I mentioned that our own comics, which we write, have been compared to Skullkickers in some way. I write a superhero webcomic called Zero's Heroes, which is currently on a hiatus, but it's been compared favorably to Skullkickers. And John, you have a series at Alternate Comics called Clusterfuck, which,
Yes.
if it hasn't been favorably compared to Skullkickers, I'm doing that right now. I have read Clusterfuck, and I think it has that perfect, fun, irreverent action comedy tone that Skullkickers also has. So,
Hey.
yes, that's my professional review of Clusterfuck. John, how is the book going?
Well, the actual book, it's done, finished. It came out, like all the issues came out. I'm currently doing a Kickstarter for it. I started on the 9th, so we're like closing in on the halfway point. So by the time this comes out, it'll have been halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
It started out strong, and I'll admit it's kind of stalling out right now. So it's just kind of, it's at like 14%, but like I've had a couple people drop, a couple people change,
Mm-hmm.
You know how it goes.
Trust me, I know how it goes. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I could ever do a Kickstarter ever again. I've had
You've done
success.
what, 3?
I've done 3. Yes, I've had successful Kickstarters and failed Kickstarters, and it's just not for me. I think it's a wonderful platform, and I think the things that it is doing to allow creators to get out there is amazing. But I don't have the social ninjutsu required to get myself out there, be my own spokesman, because that requires certain finesse that I don't have. But I mean, I think your Kickstarter looks really good, John. Of course it's a really good book. I'm saying that as somebody who's read it. It's a great book.
Thank you.
So we are saying, anybody who's listening to this, if you like Skullkickers, go to John's Kickstarter and back Clusterfuck. I think you will enjoy it. What should they search for on Kickstarter, John, to find it?
It's like the easiest thing is to search like my name, is John Parrish. You'll find it. Like I'm the only John Parrish on Kickstarter,
Okay.
as far as that I've seen with JON. So like anytime if I type in my name, or I tell people to type in my name, it pops up like that. You don't even have to type in the whole clusterfuck, because it has like an asterisk in there, and it
Right.
has like the @ symbol for the internet. So if you just put in cluster F, there are only two projects that have had the word clusterfuck in them, but they were like spelled differently. But both of those will pop up. So it's like you just type in the beginning, just cluster, and then F, it'll come up, or you just type in my name, John Parrish, it'll show up.
Excellent. Well, I definitely encourage everybody to do that. So, now that we've got all the plugs and the selfish sellouts out of the way, let's talk about Skullkickers. Volume 3 picks up, like right after Volume 2, right? If I remember this correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Except for that little dangling plot when they show the alternate Rex and Rolf. Right? That was at the end of Volume 2, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got the book right here.
Yeah.
That's with like the blonde-haired dwarf and.
I'm pretty sure that was when they left and they were leaving on the boat. The other one showed up.
Yeah. Well, I just like we're reading them 2 volumes at a time when we're talking about them, and there's a few things like having gotten further in the book now. I'm looking back at our podcast for the first episode, and I'm like, oh, we kind of like really didn't know what we were talking about in some places.
Yeah.
I did. For me, John, you've read them, so you were a bit more knowledgeable.
Yeah, I've read all of them. I think I'm on I finished the second treasure trove, so I think I think there are like 4-ish. I think there are 4 chapters in each or so. So like I'm 2 chapters ahead, maybe.
Yeah. See, this is different for me. This podcast. Most of the books that we do on the podcast are things that I'm intimately familiar with, or stuff that I've read dozens of times over. Skullkickers is really the only book that I'm talking about as I'm reading it. Like, I had read the first volume way back when, and then just never got around to reading the rest of it. But now I'm doing it now as we're talking about it on the podcast. So that's it's different for me talking about a book like that, not knowing how it ends or where it goes. Because one of the things that we were talking about, we were getting confused about the character names. About is if they're named Rex and Rolf, because they don't really call each other by their names. It's just Baldy and Shorty. But as the series progresses and throughout Volume 3 and 4, it is confirmed, right? Like that is just their names, Rex and Rolf.
Yes.
Yes. So that was one thing. But yeah, the third volume picks up with them getting on the boat, and they were just trying to get away from the city, or they were just trying to stow away.
Remember they had all the angry mobs after them.
That's right. Yes.
The guards and the peasants and then the thieves guild. Yes,
that's right. That's good. So, one of the things about this series, I think we kind of talked about this in the last episode. I think we were both in agreement that we liked Volume 1. We thought Volume 2 was better. I maintain, having read Volumes 3 and 4 now, honestly, I think this book just keeps getting better the more it goes on. I like Volume 3 more than Volume 2, and I like Volume 4 more than Volume 3. Same. Yeah. Would you say it's the same thing?
Yeah.
Definitely. Like it, Volume 1 you introduce the characters. 1 and 2 kind of connect the story, and that guy's dead, so now they're going to the capital. 3 and 2 and 3 connect as they're escaping. 3 and 4 really connect a lot more as they've laid down all these thread ends, and now you're seeing that those are all being tied together. Throughout the book.
Yeah.
It is a lot more cohesive, or it starts to feel more cohesive at any rate.
Yeah, a lot more continuity, and
yeah,
people know nerds love continuity.
This is true. So Volume 3, that was also the one that had the flashback to Rex's origin.
Correct.
Right, with the origin of the gun. What did you think about that?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, I thought it was just a cool, because when we were talking about it before, I had already read it, but when you're talking about it, you're like, where's the gun come from?
Right.
It's like the idea of his origin story being so ridiculous, and he has this like anachronistic weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. Like, of course he would get it from, because like you see him shoot it, but you're like, where are his bullets?
Right.
And then you see him like, when you look at his backstory and like it's basically like this giant ancient god, ancient demon, whatever, and it's like, I'll give you whatever you want if it's like worthy, and he's just like, I want a gun that doesn't run out of bullets until everything's dead, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? But it works. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, it shouldn't be anything else. Like, I feel like if it was like, oh, he found it in a chest somewhere or something like that, it wouldn't fit as good. Like, this makes it,
Right.
This fits with the ridiculousness of the story.
I think I agree with you, John, but I also think it adds a layer of helping connect to the reader because, like, I don't know if we can do spoilers or whatnot.
Oh
but,
yeah. We're going to talk about it pretty in depth. So yeah.
Okay. Because like it starts like he's a cowboy in New Mexico in like 1840 something, and at first I was like, wait, what? All this is in, like Earth,
Yeah.
like New Mexico. I'm like Mud Witch and all that stuff. I'm like, well, okay. And then you read on like, oh, he gets teleported to a different dimension by basically a giant spaghetti monster Cthulhu thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he gets a gun, and because of the power of his soul, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the inclusion of all like the Lovecraftian horror elements to it.
The Thule.
Yeah, the Thule. Yeah, and mixing that with the Western is pretty cool. I mean, that's I want to say that's gotta have been a thing that's done before, and I just can't for the life of me think of like when it would have been done. People do pastiches of Lovecraft all the time, but I mean, it's always cool. I like Lovecraft, and I like when people use it in their material.
Well, actually, it reminded me of what's the name of that Civil War one that you had me read, Aaron?
Yes. Actually, you're
Sixth Gun.
You're correct. It is kind of similar to the Sixth Gun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
Again, Lovecraft Western elements, all in there. And I mean, heck, it's a magical gun that doesn't run out of bullets. And I think that's
he vomits up.
Bullets. Yeah. Which I like that too. That was funny.
Yeah.
But I believe that is also one of the 6 guns in Sixth Gun it's a gun with unlimited ammo or something like that. I don't remember.
Right.
Well, maybe we'll talk about Sixth Gun sometime on the podcast. I've been wanting to. But yeah, it was a little similar to that, just in that it is Lovecraftian Western kind of stuff going on. But I like that. I like that, just sort of like it had been like 3 volumes, and we were having a lot of fun with the
fantasy nature.
The fantasy nature of it, yeah. But like trying to lock down like kind of like who these characters are, I think it's about that time to do that at this point in the story, and I think it works.
Yeah.
And they kept that irreverence with the 2 like narrators that they introduced at that section also.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to talk about that. So so seriously, this I'm trying to I don't want to get them mixed up which volumes. But the 2 narrators were great.
Yeah.
I really loved, like, when that first happened. I should say it was funny enough, but the joke that paid off was actually the joke in Volume 4. I thought with the dual narrators.
Yeah.
But yeah. See, like Volume 3, I liked Volume 3. I did not like it near as Volume 4, and we're not going to start talking about Volume 4 just yet because we still got to talk about some stuff about Volume 3.
Yeah.
But I think what I liked about Rex's origin was that it really, really just felt like somebody's D&D character. Like, it really was just like a full-on, like, ridiculous character. Like, John, I think we talked about this in the last episode. Did you ever do much D&D? Not much, correct?
I played it, like, in college one time, like a couple times with like my friends, but like yeah, because we had that conversation. I think it was the first time when we did this the first time, in the first podcast, because I was like, we played it a couple times, but me and my friends were just like dicks, and we pissed off
right.
the dungeon master, so he just didn't want to do it anymore because he was trying to like craft these stories.
Right.
And then
That
I would
happens
hold
more
everything
often
up
than you
trying
think.
to get a bucket. Huh?
That happens more often than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So-
I think what I liked like Rex's origin, it was such a like that is such an over the top sort of ridiculously not ridiculously convoluted, because it's not actually that convoluted, but that just that sort of like that works for a D&D character. Like it's it's a fantasy world and we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, but my guy's a cowboy from the future and he got sent back in time and that's why he has a gun. Okay, fine, go with it.
Yeah.
Like that's like, to me that just felt like such a D&D character.
Mm-hmm.
But it works really well.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say what I liked about that part was once again like, and this is Jim Zub, he knows what he's doing. Just the dialogue, like when he becomes possessed by Thule
Yes,
or whatever.
that's where I was just gonna
and
bring
just,
that up.
Like Thule's little dialogue, just talking to him, like basically it's not as, I don't know, it's not as like grand.
Well,
as you
it
would think.
worked. It worked so perfectly when it was very Lovecraftian dialogue. It was
Mhm.
that sort of, like you were saying, like it's not just grand, but it's that like very like base English. I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't actually read it. But I love the way the tone shifted from like big, scary, end of the world Armageddon monster speaking these grandiose like script.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as like there's like a mind link, he's like, "Okay, now your soul is mine, so I can talk all casual like."
Yeah.
That was really great, and
Yeah.
just like, and that's like that is so Skullkickers, that completely disregarding the like the style inherent in like the tropes of fantasy, and just going for something like irreverently comedic.
Yeah.
It works really well.
Oh yeah.
I think my favorite joke in Volume 3. There was some cool stuff in Volume 3. I liked the pirate ship, of course, like the lady pirates. Although it didn't really like.
It felt a little.
Didn't really do like. I kind of was waiting for a reason for the pirate ship to be all ladies, like it was like a cursed ship, and like it just was like, it was just like a pirate ship full of pirate women, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the captain, like the magical sword, that works. That's cool. But yeah, they didn't really like. They were very clearly, it was just kind of like a throwaway idea. More of the story focus was on Rex's origin.
Yeah, but I think in that it's kind of like the other stuff. How we talk about like the background characters, how they actually felt like they actually had lives and things like that. It was just something that was like, okay, this is a thing, and then it like I don't know how to explain it. It's something that is like, oh, this would be something that they'd be sailing around whether the characters were there or not, type thing. So it was it didn't really need to be explained, or it wasn't supposed to be. It was just like, oh, here's this ship and it's full of ladies, and it would have been happening no matter what.
Right.
And then because I felt like like if they had like explained it and like, oh, this is a cursed ship, and we're trapped on this ship or something like that, like it would have. I mean, like, because with the way the story or the volume ends, it would have kind of felt, I don't know, like, it's kind of better that you didn't really get to know all of them and really get to know their backstories, you know what I mean? So it kind of was like, oh, this is interesting, but you don't get, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to know them too well.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think it kind of worked. I think it kind of worked, and it worked as an interesting, different setting. But it just, I think it's more of that, like, like these characters have lives, and it's just the main characters come into their lives type of thing. That they've done in the book so far. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no,
that's kind of how
I get what you're saying. I like it because it's it feels natural to the world of Skullkickers, and
Right.
it just gives it that sort of stylistic visual flair of like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just a pirate ship full of ladies.
Mhm.
That's what happens in Skullkickers,
Mhm.
Well, kind of like the Thieves Guild in the second one with Panky, the
Yeah.
undead goblin. They never really explain how he got that power. It's just
He just has
he
it,
does,
it's
and
just-
move on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I guess I'm not. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about it. I just like it was like something that like maybe I'm just so used to reading different types of books. But like the minute I was like, oh, it's a pirate ship full of ladies, and like that was the whole thing. Like when Rex and Rolf are like, we're gonna hide out down here until we can blend in with the crew, and then I was like,
Right.
well, that's clearly not gonna happen, you know.
Right.
And I was like waiting for some kind of like some like it hot joke where they were gonna dress up like women and have to pretend to be like
Mhm.
like lady pirates. But
Well, Rolf actually tries that.
well, that's true. No, that joke was great. Yeah, where he's like, oh, I'm a
Yeah.
lady dwarf. No, that was good. You're right. No, that was a good joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just sort of I guess it went into more of the Lovecraftian direction, which was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked man, we talked about one of the things we talked about that I really liked in the first and second volumes was the fun use of sound effects
Yes.
and onomatopoeias, and boy, Jim Zub just keeps it going throughout these volumes. I think my favorite one by far in volume 3 is when they were in the food fight.
The food
Mhm.
fight.
Yeah, and it was like, you had lots of good sound effects, but the best one by far was when Rolf gets hit with a pie in the face, and the sound effect is just classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
and then they like double down on that joke, and later on he gets hit with another pie, and what is it? Still a classic or another classic?
We told you.
We told you it was a classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I love that.
Yeah, ham hocked.
Yeah.
Uh, juicy. Gets hit with an orange.
Yep.
Wiener walloped. Sausages.
Yeah, very fun. Very fun. It keeps it going. I also loved the Kraken joke with the Kraken rising out of the sea to save the baby Thule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like anticlimactic, like for comedy, like an anticlimactic punchline, and that
Mhm.
joke was just perfect. When the giant Kraken comes out to save the baby Thule, and Rex is like talking to the Kraken, pretending to be the Thule, and it's like, oh, it was just
Where
all
you stay.
yeah, it's all a big misunderstanding. I don't actually need any help, And the Kraken is like, well, I don't move that often. This is kind of a big deal for me to come up here. Whatever, just don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
great. Again, just that irreverent tone. That was good. So, I think most of the other things I'm going to talk about are in Volume 4. Was there anything specific in Volume 3 that you guys wanted to mention?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I think we.
I actually liked Volume 3 more than Volume 4, actually.
Oh, did you?
I did. And
Because I'm
I
going to
will
disagree
tell
with
you
you, but
why.
I want you to keep talking.
I will tell you why at the beginning of Volume 4.
Uh-huh. Okay, I get you.
Uh,
Well, I'm sorry, Josh. I don't mean to cut you off. If you were going to keep
Right.
talking, keep talking.
well, I don't know. It just 3 seemed like a nice transition between more of the fantasy, like you said, to the Cthulhu
Mm-hmm.
type stuff. And I really enjoyed, like you said, just the reverence and some of the little nods they do. Like, the cultists, when they open up the Thule egg and
Mm-hmm.
they're, like, oh, I didn't know this was real.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not funny anymore. I want to quit. Or where is it? No, flipping through. Oh, the excuse me, the cutlass.
Oh,
The
yeah.
blade.
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
So the captain's got this magical blade that sings in rhyme, but it also says in a little like English accent.
Yeah,
So just reading that and doing that. I found that hilarious.
There's a lot of cool stuff in Volume 3. I think one of the things, what I was going to say, what I liked, I think there's a lot of stuff that's set up in Volume 3 that pays off in Volume 4. So it's not necessarily that I think like Volume 3 is worse than Volume 4. I think it does a really good job of setting up a lot of jokes or a lot of situations, and it just keeps going right through Volume 4.
Right. Like they do feel more or less like one.
They feel more. We should say Volume 3 and 4 feel more like one story than 1 and 2 did.
Right. Kind of like, Back to the Future always felt like one big movie instead of, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, on to 4.
And with what we were saying, like Volume 3 sets up a lot of stuff for Volume 4. Now, one of the reasons I say that I liked Volume 4 so much, Josh, what is the title of these books? We keep saying 3 and 4. We haven't actually said the titles.
Volume 3 is 6 Shooter on the Seven Seas, and Volume 4 is 80 Eyes on an Evil Island.
Correct. First of all, great names. Now, we've been talking about, like I was saying, the setups are really good. One of the things I say, the reason I like Volume 4 so much is because, like Jim Zub's comedy, it's got that. It's very, like, irreverent, kind of, there's some slapstick comedy going on.
Definitely.
What I really like about Volume 4 is that there is some really great conceptual comedy. And it's not like, I'm trying to think of how to put this. It's not like, surprise, you didn't expect this, and now you got something ridiculous, and that's why it's funny kind of comedy. It's really conceptual, like, the way it is like laid out and presented. And I'm specifically talking about like my two favorite jokes. First of all, the way Volume 3 ends with like the giants, the storm, the ship gets completely destroyed.
The Kraken in the storm.
Yeah, the Kraken in the storm that we were talking about. And so Rex and what's the elf girl? She's in Volume 3. We haven't talked about her at all.
Oh, her name is Kusia?
Yeah, Kusia. Rex and Kusia wash up on this random island. And I love the joke. Rex and Kusia are on an island, and then Rolf the dwarf is just drowning under, at the bottom of the ocean.
So at the end of 3,
Yeah, and
he sinks by the Thule, grabs him, and dies.
It dies, exactly. And Volume 4 starts off with just like, honestly, one of the best jokes I've ever read in a comic book. It's such a great visual gag, and I'm saying this. It's really good. I'm going to steal this joke at some point. I just got to disguise it just enough so that it doesn't look like I'm ripping off Skullkickers. It's so good though, which is that the first issue of Volume 4 is, since the story is split, now Rex and Rolf are divided. Rex is on the island and Rolf is drowned to death at the bottom of the sea. He's got it set up so that each page, at the bottom of each page, is one panel showing what Rolf is doing. So, like, the top of the page, we see Rex's story, and at the bottom of the page, we see Rolf's story. Yeah. And Rolf's story is that he is dead in the water. So it's just the same panel of his body floating underneath the water, with occasionally like a fish will come up and steal a piece of clothing off him. Oh my God, I loved that. It
was really good. It was really well done.
Oh, it was so perfect.
At the end, he's still dead.
Still dead. Yeah, it was great. Oh, that had me dying. Like I enjoy the book. And I think that it's funny, but that's the kind of comedy that just really got me.
Yeah.
So perfect. And then, what I think the next issue is we see kind of what Rolf's story actually is. He dies and goes down to hell. And that's another conceptual joke that kills me. We talked about the dual narrators earlier in Volume 3. Yeah, and that was like a good joke, because like I like the whole their narrator starts explaining it, and then there's like two narrators, and then he kind of makes a joke about how the book's never even had a narrator up until that point, and there's just some good like bickering.
They're kind of arguing. And
Yeah,
like,
arguing with each other about who's going to tell the story.
We wouldn't need a flashback had you explained this before.
Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's good. And then one of the, one of the jokes of having two narrators is that they're always fighting. They're, like, arguing with each other about who's telling the story. And then one of them, in the narration boxes, one of the narrators kills the other narrator. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's
it's just all text. You know, it's nothing that you see. But one of the narrators gets stabbed in the back. Apparently, that's what he says.
Right.
And so this
That's
joke.
because of your obtuse story building and rampant stupidity. Stupidity is turning your back on me after calling me obtuse. What? Funk.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
But then again, conceptual humor. The story moves along, and Rolf is in hell, and the narrator who got murdered is also in hell, trying to narrate the story because he just woke up in hell.
Yeah.
That's great. That's genius. I loved that. And the other narrator is with Rex, I believe, or did they just drop the narrator part?
I think he's with Rex.
I thought so. Dividing the narrators, though, that's such a good idea, and specifically having a dead narrator narrating the dead character.
He doesn't say as much as he did
Right.
back then, because at the beginning he does say like hey readers, 2 stories in one. You get to follow both Baldy and Shorty adventures at the same time with this clever cutaway, and then he'll talk about like what they have as far as supplies because they washed up on the island, and the map. What's on the map?
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I just really loved that joke. Just having the narrator in hell telling Rolf's story in the underworld. Oh, it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like how it was more like the Greek narrator or the Greek version of the underworld.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Charon and Shorty calls him Sharon.
Sharon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It was really good, and like I said, I like that it's like there were all these threads that get tied back together. Like,
Oh yeah, that was even stuff from Volume 1 was coming back.
Yeah, there was stuff from Volume 1, so it was like, when they're down there, you see all the characters, like, that they killed.
Yeah, the fat
in that
werewolf.
line. Yeah, the
Yeah.
werewolf from the first page.
The very first page of the
it.
comic, yeah.
And then, like, for Rex's story, you find out, that giant ape that he had to fight in the Thieves Guild lair. You find out, oh, this is the island where he comes from, and this is, whatever. This is his tribe or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like a lot of different stuff tying back, and then they even tied in the stuff where, with the, not the necromancer, I think it was when his leg got cursed,
The
Rolf's
Demon
leg
Lord
got
from
stabbed.
the
Yeah.
first one. Yeah.
Or was it Taxothalamus or something
Yeah,
like that?
Paxton
Yeah.
It was, but it was just a lot of stuff that it showed, like, okay, this is all connected. This is all connecting back. It was really, like I said, it's very tight storytelling. It's very like, okay, if you see something most times, it's going to come back. It might not come back right away, but there is a payoff to these things that you might not even think are big deals at first.
Right.
I just thought it was really good. That's what I liked about. That's one of the things I liked about the chapter after, like all these successive chapters, like while they're on the island, was just a lot of bringing stuff back.
Yeah, I agree. It really felt like a lot of it was coming together.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe I should explain why I don't initially like 4 as much as 3. Like I still really, really enjoy it. I am a huge fan of the dwarf. Like if I always play a dwarf, I identify with the dwarf. So killing him off and like, not knowing if he's coming back and thinking they're going to side with the elf and have those two
just team the
follow
human
the
and the
story.
elf and write the dwarf out of the book.
Right. That was a little like, oh, I hope they don't do that. Which I'm glad they actually brought him back, and now he's unkillable because he's been banished from hell, so he can't die.
Right.
Is a great joke as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's like the only reason it gets like 1 more point.
I
than
gotcha.
3.
I gotcha. I did like the recurring joke whenever the elf would talk to Baldy about his best friend dying. And he's like, who?
Who?
Yeah.
The dwarf. Oh yeah, my pet dwarf.
Or
Good, yeah, good character interaction there.
yeah, yeah. I think, like I said, I really enjoyed this book, and I really liked this. Like the second, well, like I said, I have the treasure trove ones,
Right.
so I really liked, like the chapters, or the second or the third and fourth book.
Mhm.
Like I really liked them. I'm really like, because I was waiting for the treasure trove, the third one.
Mhm.
I'm really excited to pick up the third one, but I really liked this one, and I really did like the stuff in hell. I thought that was really funny, or like the stuff in the afterworld.
Yeah.
Like I like the two demons talking and being like, like at the end he's like, oh yeah, tell Molly I said hi, like that.
Yeah.
Just the same, the stuff we've seen in the book, but it's just there is no part where it gets too serious.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that is another thing that I like. The more this book goes, like he brings in all the, like we were saying, the Lovecraftian stuff, and you get this like really like epic storytelling, but at the same time, the tone of the book remains consistent. It's still
Right.
just like irreverent fun the whole time, even with these grand cosmic story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I love the montage pages.
Yeah, those are fun.
Like, they do, good times jungle exploration montage. It just shows them, Rex and the elf,
Hmm.
carrying all the supplies, and she loses a game of rock, paper, scissors, and she has to carry it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Or even, survival, or island survival with an elf, and she's, like, hunting and gathering wood, and he's drinking a bottle of rum and sleeping underneath a palm tree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, yeah, the montages are really well done. I just think they're really, like, I liked the one, like, posts, like, because, well, we should probably talk about, like, that Rex has to go to do a test at the eight, like,
Yes.
the 8 people. Which I thought was really interesting. Like, I thought it was a really interesting, like, the resolution of that.
Yeah, that was a nice little like character moment. Like you were kind of like we talk about like the irreverent tone of the book, and it's pretty consistent. But that was a good little like
Serious moment?
serious moment for the character. But it wasn't too
Yeah.
serious,
Oh,
you know.
No.
But yeah, like he because basically they're on the island. They meet these apes, the apes with horns.
Mm-hmm.
And the apes invite them into their tribe, but Rex has to pass this test, and he has to go do these various things, and the final test is the reflection, like the pool of reflection or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, basically, he has to fight a copy of himself, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's like a nice little moment where he's talking to himself, and he's like, he says something like, you're a loser. And he's like, well, I learned it from you, and like
Right.
it was like a nice serious moment, but it was still kind of jokey,
Mhm.
And then of course it ends with him getting the extra gun.
Yeah.
So it's like
Which was
it
great.
does end with a good punchline of like, hey, wait a minute, and he steals the gun from his reflection. Dual guns.
Yeah, it says double guns, baby.
Yeah, double guns, baby. Yeah.
And then I like they had like little stuff like where they were like, the human is victorious. He is now one of us, and then they chant, one of us,
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
us, and then it says like impressive 8 sounds. Like that whole thing was hilarious. And then like the montage of them partying, and it's like wild rumpus,
Yeah.
and 8 cheer and 8 boo. Like it just was really, I don't know. It was just a really fun. Like I said, it's always been fun, but it was just like a really just goofy thing where it's like, oh, they don't end up having to like fight their way out, or they don't have to do any of this stuff. Like now they're just part of this tribe, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It worked really well.
Yeah.
And then, so of course, after all of that nonsense, like, because that's the whole thing is that there's a Thule, he finds like the carving in the rock, like the
Mhm.
Right.
thing about the Thule. So,
Oh, we might have skipped a part.
Oh, okay.
So, like in in 3, like he, Rex is obviously controlled by the Thule, and his plan is to make eggs and send them to all these different dimensions.
right.
And that's actually how Rex goes from wild, New Mexico to
Fantasy world.
this fantasy land. And so he's going around trying to kill them.
He's trying to kill all the Thule eggs.
Right. So he sees a Thule here, which is why he's upset.
Right. So Volume 4 does kind of end in this, like, I don't want to say weird, but, like, it is, like, again, anticlimactic. Like, it's building to a certain thing, and then it completely pulls the rug out from under you and gives you something else.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because they are going to go, he and the apes are going to go storm, like, the mysterious, like, Mount Doom kind of thing, where they assume that the Thule is at.
Yeah.
And they, pass through all the dangers, and they get up there, and I did like the joke about the what was the thing? The
goo
monster, yeah.
The goo elemental.
Elemental, yeah, the goo elemental. Good joke. He's like just the janitor of the place. Like, he keeps it clean. That's a good joke. But yeah, it ends with them, like, going to the secret room, and it opens up to just a tavern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this actually is a thing that I really wanted to talk about. So he gets in there, and they meet the old lady, who is like the Mother Nature kind of character.
Yeah.
And she's having a conversation with the elf.
The elf.
Yeah. And she kind of is explaining to her, like, oh, the bar is an archetype. Like, it's a thing that you see in all these types of stories. So it's reused over and over again, and that's why it's here, and that's why it's we were talking in the last episode about how much, like, fantasy we've read, and it's not been a whole lot, I think, between the two of you. I've read a little bit more. For some reason, I was actually kicking myself after we did that podcast. I don't know how, and I don't know why. I completely did not mention Terry Pratchett, the author Terry Pratchett, and his Discworld series. I am such a huge Terry Pratchett reader. Actually, I've probably read more books by Terry Pratchett than any other author. Like, I'm a huge fan of Discworld, and I don't know how I can.
He is.
Yeah, no, Josh can confirm. I'm not just making that up. I've got so many Terry Pratchett books on my shelf. I don't know how I could talk about a fantasy comedy series like Skullkickers and not bring up Terry Pratchett. I don't know what was wrong with me in the last episode.
Arthur fan.
Yeah, exactly. So I was all excited. I was like, oh, we're going to do another Skullkickers. This will give me a chance to kind of, like, reference my love and knowledge of Terry Pratchett. And we get to this scene. And this is, like, the most Terry Pratchett concept ever. This is something that is, like, straight out of Discworld. Like, it is something that has been used by Terry Pratchett. This like, the concept of, like, belief creates reality. And stories have power. And so, like, when she's talking about, like, this bar, this tavern is an archetype. Like, it's the same type of thing you see in all the stories, and that's why you have these different things show up all over the place, and you have alternate versions of your characters. That is something that is right out of Terry Pratchett, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And that's where we pick up that dangling plot from Volume 2, where we see the alternate Rex and Rolf.
Right.
But we still don't get to do much with it just yet. I assume we're going to do more with it in the next volumes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that section reminded me of the bad Matrix movies. Specifically when Neo goes to the architect.
Right.
And he's talking about, basically, or the Mother Nature explained it so much better than the architect in the Matrix about just the story of, they like repetitive, they like what's familiar, and when they get bored, they'll do little changes, and that's a great way. I mean, it was a great concept to connect the alternate Rexes, and Ralphs, and actually they introduce a third Rex and Ralph, if you caught that.
Oh yeah, with the where they were like walking through the snow and the giants.
Up the mountain,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There's a Rex and Ralph, and the dwarf is now giant now, and Rex is the little midget.
I thought, okay, I saw that, and I thought we were going to get more of a payoff of that, but we didn't. But yes,
No.
There's usually like about a volume gap between them, like before you get the payoff
Right,
for
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that I mean, yeah, having read 4 volumes of Skullkickers, I've pretty much tuned into that.
Right.
One of the things about the tavern, did you guys how many Easter egg characters did you guys spot in the bar? Did you guys notice any like familiar characters in the background?
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
it's.
you.
Is it like Ryu or Ken or something in there?
I saw 2 Street Fighter characters, Ryu and Cammy.
Okay.
Wolverine is in there in one panel. Red Sonja, I think, was in like the first
Oh
panel.
yeah.
And there were a few other characters that I recognized.
Fascist Stampede.
Was Vash in there? I didn't see him.
There's a guy with really tall hair and a red jacket.
It's probably him.
Yeah.
There were a few characters I noticed that like looked like they were supposed to be Easter egg characters, but I just didn't know what they were from. Probably like a video
Right.
game or an anime or something. You know, I don't know everything, even though I profess to.
Quite often.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was a nice little like in conjunction with all the talk of like what the tavern is and all the talk of archetypes. It was cool to just see a lot of the like little Easter egg characters in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me also like the final episode of Quantum Leap,
Oh yes.
where they go to Al's bar.
Yeah.
Like Sam jumps into Al's bar. It's this weird like diner where he basically sees all the different characters that he's jumped into, and like the bartender is alluded to be like God,
Mhm.
and kind of
Mhm.
explains what he's doing. And the bartender in this tavern is also a deity of,
Of
some
some
sort.
sort, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It ended like
Abruptly.
it ended really abruptly, like in such a like a cliffhanger-ish kind of way that I really got to read the next books. I got to keep this
Yeah.
going.
'Cause I mean, what I was gonna say, well, I think, but it's made it pretty obvious that now we're gonna get Rolf's backstory, and we're gonna
Right.
get
Yeah.
like more of his history and where he's from, and so it's like we'll get to see, because like it makes me beg the question, like if Rex is from a different dimension, and there's already a Rex and Rolf, then where is Rolf from?
Hmm.
So is he? So he's possibly not from there either. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see like his backstory and how he got to where he was and how he ended up in that same place.
Yeah, with the different dimensions and these alternate characters, with the Thule and now the bar, it really opens up to there could be hundreds of these same 2 characters running around in this world or whatever, or in
Mhm.
different worlds. Yeah, I did like that, more of a sci-fi concept in this more fantasy and now Cthulhu style, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a really good book, and like I said before, it's like I hope more people just like get hip to it and start like the more that Jim Zub, like the more stuff he gets and the more recognized he becomes, like that people will go back and they'll see this and they'll read this and like enjoy it, because I think it's a really good book. I just don't feel like it was like recognized as much.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, kind of talking about that. Like, I remember in the previous podcast, in the previous episode, I kind of mentioned how we had heard, like been hearing about Skullkickers for a while just from following comic news. And one of the stunts that Jim Zub played was to renumber all of the issues as a new number 1. And those were the issues that he did in Volume 4. When those were coming out as issues, they were like all new Skullkickers number 1, like dark.
Ian Caney Skullkickers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dark Skullkickers number 1, which is a great joke. I love that joke, and I did like reading past reading through this trade, he had said, like, he had a little, like, the cover gallery, and he kind of explained what it did, you know, what he was doing, why they renumbered them. And he said very matter-of-factly, like, we did see sales increases on all of these issues that were new number ones.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was kind of funny. Not wholly unexpected, though. Just, you know, that is, the comic book industry is weird like that. But also, I think that, like, the series got really, really good in Volume 4. Which is not to say that it, like, wasn't good, but, like those issues, all those new number one issues were by far my favorite. Like,
the fact that they went back and, like, tied in so much stuff together and it wasn't just throwaway stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, so I think I actually look forward to, like, I mean, if they ever get to, I mean, well, the book's done, so it's like that, like, that's like how they defeat Taxothalamus, like the ridiculous anticlimactic way or the creative way
right.
to, like, defeat this demon. Like, are they gonna, I don't know, are they gonna find a magical door and slam it in his face, or are they gonna do, I don't know, something like stupid, like it's gonna be like a magical shoe and they hit him in the face with it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I haven't read past this Volume 4, the 80 Eyes on an Island, but I swear, I mean, I don't like to make any kind of predictions or anything like that because you never know. But the book has to end. The book has to end with them skull kicking Taxothalamus.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
maybe the Thule too.
The Thule too. Yeah. Just...
Maybe they'll somehow find a way to make them kill each other or something. I don't know. I know, like, whatever it is, it's not gonna be like, you know, like epic fantasy, you know, like them fighting all the it's gonna be something like, it's gonna start out like that, but then it's gonna end like goofy, not goofy, but you know what I mean.
It'll
like,
end
it's
fun.
Not gonna be what you expect. Yeah, it'll end fun. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an enjoyable book. I'm gonna pick up the third
Treasure Trove.
Treasure Trove book. 'Cause I think you can pre-order it now. So I'm gonna do that. But I look forward to reading it because I was like, like I said, the webcomic, they have it online for free, like as a webcomic, but it's like a delay.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I just, you know, I like to sit and read it in like huge chunks. So when the last one comes out, I'll get it, and then I don't know, maybe we could do this again.
Oh, we will definitely. I mean, we have to now.
Yeah.
We're already this far into the series. We've got to read the rest of it.
There's just 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good. So I just really like the way the series progresses.
And I was gonna ask, do you guys have like the tavern tales in yours?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, did you want to talk about those?
Yeah, we can talk about those.
Okay. I mean, like, yeah, they were just like little interesting, you know, short stories. I just liked, actually the one I liked the most was the one about what's his name, the hunter or whatever. That
the Weekend at Bernie's spoof.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny, and I like the bear. It's pretty much Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah,
so
that was good.
Bear. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I like that one too about the the hunter that, like the monster hunter, and every time he would like track an animal, Rex and Rolf would just come in at the last second and kill it and claim the bounty on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
With his magical crossbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I like the band one. Where they
Oh yeah.
Yes, that one was really good.
Go fight the band. Yeah.
That one was also very.
It was longer than the others.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm. That one was also kind of Pratchett-esque, like with the whole like different guilds and the way the guilds operate. And that one, and also I was gonna say, what was?
No, that wasn't a guild.
Well,
one.
there was something about like the musicians guild in that one with the band, wasn't it? Maybe it was just.
I think they were assassins.
Yeah, they were assassins or something to that effect.
Right.
But the one that was really good was the one that apparently won the contest to be in the book.
Mhm.
That the one that had like the real heavy metal like fantasy art about the Warriors Guild like coming to collect their dues from Rex and Rolf.
Oh yeah.
Man, no, that was a good one, and that one was very like all the like the jokes about all the guilds. That was a very Pratchett-esque kind of a joke.
Mhm.
That like the guilds basically just operate as mafias who make sure other people aren't doing their jobs, unless they pay, But I really liked that one. Like, oh, it was some beautiful art.
Mhm. Oh yeah, it was really good.
Mhm.
It was a really good. It was a really good story. Like they had like the little characters. What was it? The one where it was like I'm gonna fight the girl or the pretty one, and then it was like no, that's a guy, and it was the. It
Oh
was
yeah,
like
like
the
there's
friggin-
like the anime character,
yeah,
the
the
classic
JRPG,
JRPG
yeah.
fighter. Yeah.
It's like yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
the whole thing was just ridiculous. I also liked the one because it was really short. Was the one where they were fighting the zombies in the town because the people kept coming back, and then it turned out it was like the kids playing
The
D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So, yeah. It was good. But like yeah, I just think like and I think that is like it goes towards like world building
Mhm.
and then it also just goes towards like really I don't know. It's just like really interesting to see uh other people write these characters.
Yeah, just
and
other
people
takes,
do their-
you know.
Yeah.
Just seeing the different art, and it's always fun.
So it's like there's also in the treasure trove there's also like a little quick one where it's like like have you read the book Princeless?
You know what? I haven't read it. I've been wanting to read it. I know exactly what book you're talking about.
Yeah, because they had like a little crossover where like Rolf and Adrienne, the girl, the princess,
Mhm.
like they almost get into a fight because some dude like bumps them, and like they both get, and then like some guy bumps them and he's like out of the way short stuff, and then both of them get upset for being called short, and then like they were like gonna fight, but she has a dragon, so basically it was just like a little quick crossover. It was just an interesting
Yeah.
thing because I've read the first volume of Princeless. So I just thought it was an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
So I think we are in agreement that Skullkickers maintains the comedy, which I think that's the most important thing. Like,
yeah.
it's
It does separate it from a lot of the other ones.
well, I think it's also kind of a thing. I do agree, Josh. It does help separate it, but I think it's really easy to like. I'm trying to think of the way to put this. It's really easy for a series to start off as a comedy series, and then just sort of kind of get caught up in its own continuity and its own mythology, and sort of like lose a lot of the comedy just in favor of its own continuity storytelling.
Yeah.
I am immediately thinking of something like the Venture Brothers show, which I'm not using that as a negative example because the Venture Brothers is amazing. But I do think that is a show that started off as like a bunch of silly, irreverent comedy and then really got wrapped up in its continuity and its mythology. And the show's still good, but I think Skullkickers is kind of I'm not saying it's like the Venture Brothers, but I am saying that, like, in a similar vein, it is sort of building on its own continuity, but it's still keeping the comedy first, which I really like.
Yeah. But you can tell, like I said, like this is like, cause like I haven't read Wayward yet, but but I was like, but from this book alone, it's like that Jim Zub knows what he's doing. He kind of he keeps it tight. He does his research. He does all the stuff necessary to do, and I think he probably went in with that in mind. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep the comedy first. Like, I can't be like, yeah, that's what he did because I don't know,
Right.
But it feels like it. Like it's like you have, because I think for writing you have to keep it. You have to like have it be in your mind like this is what's don't lose sight of this. But I mean I think it pays off. Like the jokes still hit the same way they did. there's like, you know, a lot of visual comedy, a lot of like just interesting situations and puns, and like, you know, like they cranked up the sound effects and the onomatopoeias, and you know, they just knew whatever worked, they put more of it in, but not to the point that it gets too much.
Yeah, it doesn't ever feel repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it helps that, like we were talking about, each volume goes to a new location.
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
Yeah.
It keeps it
Yeah.
shifting.
So it's like they deal with that location, so it's not like they're jumping all over the place and they're going to all these different places and all this stuff. It's like each volume is like pretty much one location for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, so you just deal with that area, you get to know that area, you get to like see stuff, you know, like on the island or on the ship and these things, and it doesn't like, I don't know, because it feels like it'd take too much time to like keep reestablishing locations. So I feel like it's done well that each volume only has like one real location or one like main location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I do like that. And that's another thing that kind of makes it feel like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Mm-hmm.
The way it just kind of like keeps moving from like, you know, one game to the other, you know,
Mm-hmm.
different sessions.
Yeah, the first and second, I mean, didn't really have that feel
Mm-hmm.
as much. Because I mean, it was still like, okay, small, like Mudwitch, a small town, and then you had a bigger town, but then you had the sewers too.
Mhm.
But then you had,
Mm-hmm.
3 is definitely like, oh, this is our pirate theme,
Mhm.
and 4 is, this is a island adventure theme.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like, what, 5 is going to be in the snow mountains or something?
Yeah. It's
Looks
gonna
that
be
way.
like the Dwarven
Yeah.
Mountain Kingdom or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to read it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, I
Definitely.
don't know. I think we pretty much covered volumes 3 and 4 of Skullkickers. Any final thoughts you want to add?
I think more people should read this book.
I agree.
As always. And like I said, I just really can't wait to see how it ends.
Now, is this
and
as far
that's
as
it.
you have read, John?
This is as far as
Oh,
I've
okay.
read. I didn't read ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we're all on the
So
same
yeah,
page.
we're all caught up now. So when we do the next one, we'll all be, yeah,
Yeah.
I get you. Well, reading it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool. Well, all right. I think we'll call it then. Thank you everybody for listening. My name is Aaron Walther. You can find comics that I have written at newhavencomics.com and aaronwalther.com. And you can find new episodes of this very podcast at comicdna.podbean.com. We are also available on iTunes. Just search for Comic DNA on iTunes. We will pop up. You can find copies of my science fiction anthology, Science Hero, on Comixology. Just search for Science Hero, and within the pages of Science Hero, you can find the comic that Josh and I write together called Time Agent Z. And it's, I say with as much modesty as I can muster, it is a very awesome comic.
Indeed.
Josh will tell you, it's cool. But all joking aside, John, where can people find you and your stuff?
Okay. You can find me on. You can find like my first comic series and like a couple of my short stories on secretsandshadows.net. Secrets and Shadows is obviously one word. You can find me on Twitter at John_H_Parrish. You can find my my Facebook. I gotta actually look it up. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that about me.
You can find me on Facebook under JP Comic Writer. If you go to facebook.com/JP Comic Writer, you can find my comic page. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are you're on Twitter?
That was the first thing.
Oh, you did say that. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, I said the website, then I said Twitter.
Gotcha.
And then I said Facebook. And yeah, and if you get the chance, check out the Clusterfuck Kickstarter. Either type in my name in the search bar or type in Cluster F, and it should be like the one that shows up that's still going on and it's still
Awesome.
running.
I'll put a hard link in the description for the episode to your Kickstarter.
Okay.
We'll definitely do that because it's a good book. People got to check it out. I'm gonna put on my total shill helmet and just be like, if you like Skullkickers, you will like Clusterfuck. So, well, get it while you can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I didn't say so earlier, but yes, I'm also on Facebook, Aaron Walther on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at AAWALTHER. That's at AA Walther on Twitter. So, I think that covers it.
Oh,
Josh is a.
I don't have.
Josh stays hidden on.
You want to find me looking at Where's Waldo?
Okay.
Yes. You can find. Well, I plugged Josh and I's Comic Time Agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, Josh communicates mostly by smoke signals and flare guns.
Don't forget messenger
pigeons. Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Come back for the next episode. I can say this time the next episode. My old pal Luke Thompson Moritz is coming back, and we're going to talk about the next volume of iZombie. It's only been like over a year since we read the first volume, and we're going to read the second one now. We're going to talk about the book and the new show that just came out. They just did the first season of the show, so we're going to kind of compare the book and the show, and we'll see how that goes. But should be good. So I think that's all I can say about that. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you all next time.